Hey everybody, it's the Castle. I'm here to explain some stuff. So, this is a little bit different from my regular videos. Every once in a while, I like to branch out and just do something a little bit different than just my vlogs and game dev stuff. This is in regards to the Cyberpunk 2077 thing and the quartering. Who, I watch fairly often. Kind of put himself in a pretty awkward situation, and I thought it was kind of funny, but he views the genderless thing in Cyberpunk 2077 as being like a like pandering, right? And this is something that I actually kind of I fear this a little bit because like what we're seeing right now is the a lot of the backlash towards wokeness ruining things and everything like that. So now we end up getting people who just like knee jerk reaction anytime they see even a slightest sign of wokeness. It's like immediately, oh no, you messed up now, and it just ends up being like a huge backlash, right? And you got to keep things in perspective here, though. We're talking about something that's very specific, and maybe I don't know the full story. Maybe something was said. Maybe it was for some woke reason. But okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't really think that's actually the case. It actually makes more sense to me in Cyberpunk 2077 to treat this kind of stuff as what I would call preferential sexual dimorphism, because if in an environment where well, let's just go through this. Hold on a second.
Is it over? Is the great genderless cyberpunk drama of 2019 over? Can we all move on now and go back to how awesome the game does look?
First of all, it's not genderless. It's just preferential sexual dimorphism. In other words, in an environment where anyone could be anything that they want to be, they're gonna choose to be all kinds of weird stuff, and they can be, you know what I mean? Like, it's like if we're applying this to like regular genetics and human engineering, like, or just human beings in general, and then we would say, okay, well, maybe these arguments are a little bit more valid. But if we're talking 2077 in the future, everybody's got, even their retina got their Google Glass, everything. They got brains are fucking, you know, um, modified heavily so that we have like more drive space and shit. Like we actually don't even we're not even really human technically anymore. And if you think that like, well, that'll never happen, just carrying around a cell phone is already placing you at a major advantage versus somebody in like the 1980s. Do you understand? Like, just because the cell phone it's on your person, okay? You can now search the internet. You can Google something, right? All it is just the technology slowly takes over, and eventually it just becomes this sort of weird amalgamation of whatever the fuck you want, right? This is very visible if you look in things like virtual reality, where people can just be whatever avatar they are. Well, it's sort of like that. It mimics that very much the same thing in the case of transhumanism, where people can just once you start attaching robot body parts, it kind of blurs the line on everything. So like, it's like one guy could be like, you know what, I'm gonna be female next week, and like in the case of like that might sound like complete nonsense to a lot of people, in terms of like changing your actual like physical body. In the world of transhumanism, yeah, go ahead. You could totally do that, right? Like, you could probably just switch bodies. In fact, I'm willing to bet that there will be people who have multiple bodies in a scenario like this, where they can actually just sort of switch between bodies at will. So yeah, like, so when Cyberpunk 27, when I hear that Cyberpunk 2077, I don't know why I'm like stuttering, is causing is causing controversy because they decided to just turn this into a matter of sexual, preferential sexual dimorphism. Then yeah, it kind of makes a lot of sense. I mean,
Look, there is a lot of danger in this level of blind support. I'm not saying everybody who has genuine critiques of the things that I said are bad, but I'm also
I don't think it's blind support. I don't really think it is. I don't think it is.
saying I received a ton of feedback, including several very long, very angry emails about statements that I never made in either one of my first two emails. And this isn't.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm not on that train. Like fuck that. I'm just chiming in with my own 2 cents on this. Like I don't really care that I mean, like maybe the knee jerk reaction towards wokeness is going a little bit too much, but I don't know. Honestly, I don't know where to stand on that exact, like where that line is. This isn't really about that. It's really more about just we have a bright future ahead of us because a lot of the arguments, a lot of the stupidity that we have to deal with these days is going to be completely irrelevant in the future, and that personally makes me very happy. I mean, it'd be like, well, I'm a man, and like I am a woman. Like you could choose to be what you are. Like in this particular case, you see this right here. This person is so jacked up, and when I say jacked up, I mean jacked, like as in, like I guess maybe that would be a weird way to say it, but this is a person that is so transhumanist that their face has been completely restructured, right? And I guarantee you the rest of the body as well. And this is a this is an example of preferential sexual dimorphism. And in this particular case, we don't know this being, this entity. We can't even assume that it's not just a fucking AI. Like, we don't know. Is it a completely artificial person? Is there a brain in the jar? We don't know. We don't know. So, like, born male, born female, your guess is as good as mine. This is a preferential sexual dimorphism. So, in this particular case, it does actually genuinely make sense. Now, I don't know why the Cyberpunk 2077 people, I don't know why they're choosing to do this, if it's for the right reasons or the wrong reasons, or if it just makes more sense. Because to me, this person was, could have been born male and decided that this was their, what they wanted to do. Like, I think in an earlier, like a video, you actually even see the face being like worked on by like a 3D printer or something like that. And it's like putting lipstick on. And preferential sexual dimorphism is definitely going to be pretty common. And I mean, at that point, like all the arguments that we have, like what bathroom are you going to use and stuff like that, like, yeah, we might as well just get rid of all that shit because it doesn't make any sense in the case of a world this transhumanistic. So, like, it's almost like a lot of the woke arguments of today are just ahead of the times, and that's why it's getting so much backlash because it's like, well, we're not robot body part people yet, so you know what I mean. But like down the line, who cares? Like at that point, yeah, you literally can just be, oh, but the male body has higher upper body strength. No, it doesn't. Not in the case of this. You don't know what kind of body parts are underneath that dermal frame. You have no idea. That thing could probably snap your neck like a fucking twig. Us humans. So yeah, like it's really really hard to just go down that route. So when I see this kind of stuff, I'm
The
like,
result of toxic fandom. Just kidding. No, I don't use that terminology to describe fans. Look, there's real danger in letting your hype blind you to things that might be worth criticism. Removing the gender options.
okay, yeah, I agree with all this. I mean, I agree. I agree with the regular sentiment and everything like
Character
that.
customization screen, which we saw confirmed today, it's not a big deal. It's not going to affect whether or not the game is good. Will some people choose not to buy over this? Yes. Will some people choose to?
I think it actually enhances the game to me. Actually, I think that actually makes things a little bit more interesting because this is something that I've talked about many times in the past, and I'm glad to see that I'm not the only one thinking about this. Like, sometimes I just don't see other people. Everybody seems to treat the future like it's just going to be kind of like the same thing we are now, but we got better cell phones. No, no. Once you start, like, look at like games like Overwatch and stuff like that. People are running around with prosthetics like crazy. Like, okay, well, it's just a prosthetic arm. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? No, that arm can do better than the actual human arm. A lot of the times they're sitting there with these fucking robot body parts and they're just kind of like wearing them like it's fucking cosplay or something like that. But it's in reality it's a lot deeper. It's a lot deeper than that. I mean, for all we know, all of the characters in a future such as like Overwatch, the characters could be half robot. Like all of them could be like robotic, and there's all kinds of weird stuff going on there. But they don't really touch on that social issue because I guess a lot of people just aren't really thinking about it in that terms, but that's like a fundamentally different mindset. It changes the whole thing. Like it erases 99% of the arguments we've got that we're dealing with. In fact, I've actually started to feel happier now that I've been thinking about this in this perspective, regarding like all of the different types of social issues and everything like that, because I know now that eventually it's just going to go away. It's almost pointless to even make the arguments today. It's pointless because all you have to do is embrace this kind of technology and you don't have to worry about it anymore. You could just make it go away. As you embrace technology, as things continue to advance, we don't have to worry about this shit anymore. We don't have to worry about the differences between genders, race, and whatever because everyone is going to be hooked up. Everyone's going to be doing crazy shit. Everyone is going to be whatever they prefer to be because maybe it'll be expensive, but even then that's not even really the case. I mean, if there was one thing that I would probably criticize Cyberpunk right now of is that they don't really talk about the fact that a lot of the stuff that the currencies in the game and stuff like that, they don't just outright call it cryptocurrency. They should be doing that because that's what that would be. You know what I mean? Like it's still sort of like in this like 1990s sort of like um, I guess it would be like a dystopian future, but in reality, once you get this far, like everybody's gonna be having cryptocurrencies. There's gonna be like, 50,000 different coins that you could get and shit, and it'd be just like, you know what I mean? And it would be just like a total mess compared to what we're used to now. Like we'd be thinking on a whole different level on like every front, and it would be really hard for governments and corporations and everything like that to really control everything because everybody would be just ignoring things, and there would be decentralized stuff going on all over the place. So it would be really difficult to just make this sort of dystopian future where corporations and governments are totally in charge, because in reality, once technology starts to advance too much, you don't even really need government anymore because the government is the technology. Because you can replace like a big chunk of why we need a government in the first place, for like collecting taxes so that we can have a standing military. A lot of that stuff, if we got robots, what? Like, why do we need that? Like, I can just have a fucking army of robots. We're gonna actually have a real life supervillain, like one dude who just learns how to control like 1,000 fucking drones in one day, and just like, you know what I mean. If you think that like mass shootings are bad now, get ready for that, because I mean that kind of stuff is definitely going to be. How do you control that, right? And it'll be a completely different situation. Like fundamentally, I don't even think we can really truly predict. I love that we are trying to predict this kind of stuff, but I don't think we're even touching the. This is the fucking tip of the iceberg right here. Just think about how fundamentally different this is compared to today, right? When you can't even think in the same ways that you do now. Like everybody will tend to side towards something like gender politics, or identity politics. Identity politics in this environment? How? How? How do you lock down who is who? How do you do it? You can't. You fucking can't. You just can't. So, like, you want to look like a super attractive girl? Anyone? Like, anyone can do it for the weekend. Yeah, I look like this on the weekends, and during the week, you know, I, I'm a big muscle guy. All right, guys. All right, I just needed to get that rant out. It's like, yeah, I get it. Like the whole thing. It actually does make more sense, and maybe it's good that there's a little bit of controversy around it. I just want to share the idea that it goes a little bit. It goes a lot deeper. It goes a lot deeper than just that. Like all of our arguments right now are so fucking dumb. Just imagine, just imagine 10 years from now, and people are, not even, like, let's just say 10, 15 years, 20 years, we start getting people with, willful prosthetics and stuff. Think about how stupid most of the shit that you see on Twitter today. Like, think about it. Like, think about how dumb all of this is going to be. Like, 99% of the workforce is machines. Like, you know what I mean? Like, doing, like, hard labor. Like, nobody's doing hard labor anymore because it's cheaper just to hire a machine to do it. Like, just think about how fucking dumb, like, 99% of the shit that we got going on right now is. From the perspective of somebody from this far in the future. It's like we are all fucking trapped in the past, right? We are we are fundamentally fucking stupid compared to anything that's going on during a time like this. Like, just think of anything. Like, oh, well, why do we even need immigration? Why do we need, like, we got robots. We got robots. Oh, well, we need specific people. Well, how do you define who's who? You can't even fucking tell. Like, how? Where are the borders? I don't know. Like, wherever the fuck people decide they are. Like, does the government really decide where it is anymore? Like, what if this happened after a major, economic collapse or something like that? Like, and then, instead of Mad Max, we just ended up going in this direction during that when there was no way to really, curtail any of the direction that everything ended up taking. All right. Anyway, all right. I'm just gonna go ahead. I gotta end this because I can just rant about this forever. But I hope you guys enjoyed and everything like that. But yeah, think about it, please. Just it's such an interesting topic, and it's not being discussed enough. Like, yeah, like, I love thinking about how dumb everything looks right now. The things that we argue about now. It's so stupid. Everything is so stupid right now.